Hey, everyone's. Welcome to today's episode of The Hustler's Journey. We're talking about something a lot of people are trying to figure out these days: how to take a side hustle and turn it into a full-blown empire. I'm Alex, and I'm here with my co-host, Jamie. How's it going, Jamie?
Hey, Alex. Going great, and I am so pumped for this episode. I mean, who doesn't dream of scaling their side gig into something huge, right? We're going to unpack all the things you need to know if you're thinking about taking that leap. Buckle up, because we've got an awesome lineup of advice, stories, and tips.
Absolutely. We're covering everything from why people start side hustles in the first place to the nitty-gritty of scaling, finding customers, managing finances, and even dealing with self-doubt. This one is for anyone who's hustling after hours, dreaming of making it their main gig one day.
So, Alex, let's start from the beginning. Why do you think so many people are starting side hustles these days?
Oh, there are so many reasons. Some people are just looking for a creative outlet, something outside their 9-to-5 that's just for them. Others are aiming to make some extra cash, pay off student loans, or build up savings. I think for a lot of people, it's about having a bit more freedom.
Absolutely. I think people are realizing they don't have to wait for that big promotion or the perfect job. They can take things into their own hands and build something that feels meaningful. And I think that's incredibly empowering. Like, I've heard so many stories of people starting a small business on Etsy or freelancing, and then, boom. It turns into something they never expected.
That's so true. There's also the reality that a lot of us aren't completely fulfilled by our main jobs. Side hustles can be a way to explore something you're passionate about, and who knows? It might even become your full-time career someday.
And that's the dream, right? Okay, so if anyone listening is wondering if they should start a side hustle, our advice is, go for it. Just make sure it's something you actually enjoy, because that passion is what will keep you going when things get tough.
Speaking of tough, let's talk about the challenges in the early days of a side hustle. Jamie, when you first started your side gig, what were some of the challenges you faced?
Oh, so many. Time management was probably the biggest one. I was working a full-time job and trying to squeeze in hours for my side hustle. It was exhausting, honestly. I'd be up until midnight working on client projects or trying to figure out marketing. It's not glamorous in those early days, that's for sure.
Oh, I feel that. When you're trying to balance everything, it's easy to feel stretched thin. For me, one of the biggest challenges was getting people to take my business seriously. You know, sometimes friends or family see it as just a hobby and don't realize you're serious about making it grow.
Yes. And there's that doubt, right? Like, even though you believe in your idea, you can't help but wonder, is this really going to work? I had those moments constantly in the beginning.
For sure. But I think that's normal, and honestly, pushing through those challenges is what separates the people who make it from the ones who give up. It's like you have to really want it to get through those tough days.
So, Alex, what was the first big turning point for you? Like, when did you start to think, this could actually be something big?
I think my first big turning point was landing my first major client. Up until then, I'd been doing smaller projects, but this was the first time I thought, wow, if I keep this up, I could actually make a living doing this. It made me realize the potential my side hustle had.
That's awesome. For me, it was when I started getting repeat customers. When people came back and told me they loved my work, it was like, okay, this isn't just a fluke. I'm actually adding value here, and people want more.
That's such a good feeling, isn't it? It's like validation that you're on the right track. And I think for a lot of people, those first wins, whether it's a big sale, a glowing review, or just a high five from a client, are what make all the hard work worth it.
Alright, let's get into the meat of it. If someone's ready to scale their side hustle into something bigger, where should they start?
I'd say the first thing is to figure out what parts of your business are actually scalable. For example, if you're doing everything by yourself, there's only so much you can grow. You might need to start thinking about hiring help or finding ways to automate tasks.
Yes. Automation is key. I remember when I first started using scheduling tools for my social media, it freed up so much time. Instead of posting every day, I could plan a whole month in a few hours. That way, I could focus on bigger projects instead of getting bogged down in day-to-day tasks.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of outsourcing. I know a lot of people hesitate to bring on help because they want to keep control, but sometimes hiring a virtual assistant or a freelance designer can make a huge difference.
Totally agree. And another thing, don't be afraid to raise your prices. As your business grows, your time becomes more valuable. When I raised my prices, I thought I'd lose clients, but actually, the opposite happened. I attracted clients who valued my work more.
Yes. Pricing is so important. It's like you're telling people, this is worth it. Scaling often means positioning yourself as an expert and making sure you're paid fairly for that expertise.
Let's talk about branding, because this is such a huge part of building an empire. How did you go about creating your brand, Alex?
I think branding is about being consistent and authentic. When I started, I made sure everything, from my logo to my website to my social media, reflected what my business was all about. It's not just a logo or a color scheme, it's the story you're telling.
Absolutely. And I think people connect with that story. For me, I focused on sharing my journey, the ups and downs. I didn't want my brand to feel too polished, I wanted people to know that I'm just like them, figuring it out as I go.
That's so important. People love authenticity. And, honestly, word of mouth has been one of my biggest marketing tools. When people see that you're passionate and genuine, they want to support you.
Yes, and don't sleep on social media. Even if you're a small business, having a presence on Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube can make you more accessible. It's like opening a door for people to find you.
Alright, let's talk about finances. When it comes to scaling a side hustle, managing money can make or break you. What's your advice here?
I'd say, get a handle on your finances early. I made the mistake of not tracking my expenses in the beginning, and it was a mess. Separate your business and personal finances, get a business account, and don't forget to save for taxes.
Oh yeah, the tax thing. That was a rude awakening for me, too. But yeah, keeping track of everything helps you see where you can reinvest, whether it's in equipment, marketing, or even hiring help.
Well, that's a wrap on today's deep dive into scaling your side hustle into an empire. This has been so much fun, and I hope our listeners are walking away with some solid advice and a lot of motivation.
Absolutely. It's been a blast sharing our stories, and we hope this encourages anyone with a side hustle to dream big. You can take it to the next level, and there's no better time than now to start.
Thanks for tuning in to The Hustler's Journey, everyone. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know in the comments, what's your side hustle and where do you want to take it? Catch you next time, hustlers.